Welcome vegans, we're gonna look at this video together and analyze if there's any mistakes being done with Piers Morgan and Tash Peterson. I love the work of Tash Peterson. She's really vocal about the animals, and we will see if she's going to do any logical mistakes. I think probably not. And we're gonna see how many fallacies Mr. Piers Morgan is gonna bring about veganism because he's the omnivore.
Welcome back to Piers Morgan Uncensored. Celebrities are denouncing veganism en masse. The market for plant-based gruel's fallen off a cliff. It's increasingly likely that the rest of the world agrees with me, which is often what happens with issues. Infamous activist Tash Peterson, better known as Vegan Booty, is on a mission to change people's minds by all means necessary. So is veganism here to stay, or as dead as a steak on my plate later this evening? I'm joined
Or is it dead as a steak? How can you justify eating meat? Let's see, Piers Morgan, can you justify it?
by Vegan Booty, Tash Peterson, and Outkick host and Fox commentator
That's good. She's not letting us smile out because he is her adversary. He's not a friend.
Tommy Larian. All right. Would you go by the name Vegan or Vegan, Miss Booty, or
Who's this other girl? She any relevant?
what?
Tash Peterson is fine.
Tash.
Yes.
Veganism's going out of fashion. Meatless Farm announced their ending production. Beyond Meat shares crashed 95%.
So what does it matter about morals if vegan food is going out of fashion? We can still eat beans, lentils, rice, fruit, juice.
Most vegan companies in this country, lack of consumer demand now. I think people have got a bit fed up with it. I think one of the reasons is they're fed up with being shouted at. You're one of these people that runs into restaurants and plays, sounds from.
How vocal would you like people to be if you were in that same situation? Let's see, you were caught like in North Korea or somewhere where you wanted to be freed by all means and you know you're innocent. How would you like to people to try to free you? By shouting by any means possible or just by patting the North Korean dictator on the back and saying maybe?
Screaming animals in abattoirs and so on. I know you care passionately about it. I think it's very off-putting. It's a bit like the Just Stop Oil protesters doing a lot of their stuff. It just annoys people. It has the opposite effect to what you hope.
Of course it annoys people because they have a bad conscience about it.
No, I don't think so at all. I think it brings more attention to the animal holocaust. Animals are subjected to rape, torture, enslavement, abuse, and murder, and I'm bringing light to that. And
That's true. Would you want to change positions with an animal? The horror they're going through, and plus they're innocent. We don't even do that to criminals.
seeing
Why would
more
you use the
people
word?
choose to
Okay,
be
why
vegan.
use the word Holocaust? Holocaust is the mass extermination of more than 6 million Jewish people by adult.
No, that's wrong. That's just there is a definition of a Holocaust, and the Holocaust that happened was one, but it's one of many.
Hitler and the Nazis.
Well,
Why
that
would
is
you?
one holocaust in history.
Why
but
would
if
you? Why
look
would
at-
you evoke? People know that as the Holocaust. Why would you
Yeah.
use that kind of very emotive language, knowing it would offend a lot of people?
Well, it's just a factual statement. If you look at the definition of a holocaust, it is slaughter or destruction on a mass scale. Multiple holocausts have occurred throughout human history.
She knows her definitions very well. Very good on you.
And non-human animals can be subjected to the same atrocities that humans can. In fact, it's the largest holocaust in history, with 3 trillion individuals brutally murdered every year for human food consumption.
All right, Tommy, you're from a ranching family. I don't know about you. I don't mind people being vegan. If you don't want to eat meat, it's absolutely fine.
Of course, nobody minds the vegan being vegan. Who would in their right mind be against someone that is against violence? Hmm? So dumb.
And I get some of the reasons why they don't want to, personal choice, they care about animals and so on. Although I would point out animals eat a lot of animals, just for the record,
Okay, the natural fallacy, here we come. So if animals eat humans, is it okay to eat humans?
naturally. What do you feel about this whole vegan debate? Are we getting bored with it? It seems to me from all the sales in the UK and stuff, it's kind of going out of fashion. Like it was a fad for a lot of people. They've gone back to munching meat.
Well, veganism is an ethic.
Oh,
Right,
so
I
I'm
think a
asking
lot of
Tommy,
people
sorry.
Yeah, I think a lot of people realize that it wasn't, in fact, the healthier choice, because when they choose this Beyond Meat or these other substitutes, it's actually just packed with different fillers. So it's not actually this cleaner option like a lot of people thought at the onset of the whole vegan craze.
Doesn't matter. There's other options. It's not a good, valid reason to go back to eating animals just because you have found unhealthy vegan options.
But I gotta tell you, speaking of the animal holocaust, which I think is a ridiculous thing to say, I'm from a ranching family, I'm from a ranching state. There's nobody that cares more for their animals than those in the ranching and farming communities. Now,
Okay, so cutting their throat open is caring about them. So if I care about you, I keep you in a stall, I feed you, and then I can eat you whenever I want. That's your definition of caring. Okay, I think you might be in the wrong category. You know, the category of a psychopath.
I'm against factory ranching and farming as well, by the way. I think that that's atrocious.
Oh, of course, 99% of people are against it, but 99% of meat produced is produced in that way.
I'm an animal lover. But as somebody who comes from a ranching family, I can tell you that ranchers and farmers care for their livestock dearly. Yes, it does at the end of the day turn into a product for human consumption. But that
So, is that care? Is you know, that's she contradicted herself in her own sentence. You know, at the end, yeah, we care a lot about them, but at the end, they're products. So, do we care or don't we care?
doesn't mean that it is always inhumane, that it's always disgusting, that it's this animal holocaust or genocide as you're.
How can you humanely kill an animal? Kill someone? How can you humanely kill a human? Hmm?
Was referring to it as. It's also really annoying to me when people try to say that animals are causing climate change. I mean, if you don't want to eat animals because you love animals, or you have a health reason that prevents you from eating animals, that's fine. But this whole environmental craze that we need to get rid of animals because they're causing climate change, that's also a step too far, and part of the reason why this whole vegan craze is going out the window.
Yeah, and
I wouldn't use the environmental argument because what if it was good for the environment, you know, to kill animals? So then it would be morally okay to kill animals. So that's illogical inconsistency. So the argument about the climate doesn't work.
Bear Grylls said recently.
In the same time, the health argument doesn't work. Because what if eating animals was healthier than being vegan? Then it would justify eating animals, but you don't have a justification for eating animals, because then you would just do NTT and ask, what if eating humans was better for health than eating plants or animals? Would you start eating humans?
Recently, I was a vegan quite a few years. He said, but I thought it was good for the environment. I thought it was good for my health. And through time and experience and knowledge and study, I realized I was wrong on both counts. It was bad for the environment, bad for his health.
He was never a vegan in the first place. Veganism is an ethical view against animal abuse and murder. If you're against animal abuse and murder, you never contribute to it again.
He wrote a vegan cookbook.
It wasn't actually a vegan cookbook. It contained animal abuse and
so you're
murder
saying
products.
Bear Grylls was a fake vegan?
He never was a vegan.
He was a vegan?
No, absolutely.
You're saying he's a liar.
She's right. If you are a vegan, difficult, you know, because you can be vegan for the environment. You can use this environment argument and not be vegan because of the morals. So he could be vegan. He could argue, I'm a vegan because I was pro-environment and pro-health. And then you have very weak arguments for being vegan, and then you can fall off the vegan train. But if you look to a vegan and you expect a vegan to understand the moral issue, then if you measure it by that standard, he was never vegan because he didn't understand the moral standard, the moral high ground of a vegan. And then you wouldn't go back and say, okay, I'm again pro animal abuse. If you were against animal abuse, why would you change your mind about it? Come on.
He's not a liar.
No, well, I've looked at the cookbook.
You may not have liked.
You may not have
liked the fact that he went back to eating meat, but he was a vegan for quite a while.
Well, people
just
go by
reali-
that label all the time, but if they actually truly hold their ethical view against animal abuse and murder, then they would never turn back on veganism.
See, now she explained it a little bit why she doesn't think that he's a vegan, because if he holds that ethical view, yeah, being vegan because of that ethical view, then he wasn't a vegan. But if he was vegan because of weaker arguments, for example, the environment or health reasons, then you can argue that he was vegan and he went back because he dropped those arguments.
You know, Tommy, over here I railed against vegan sausage rolls. I didn't like the way they appropriated the language of meat products. I don't think vegan companies should be allowed to use words like sausage rolls or steaks, because that's meat.
Yeah, exactly. And they're filled with soy and fillers and other disgusting things that you actually don't want to put into your
Oh, soy is disgusting now. Okay, very good. Bravo, blonde girl.
body. And meat tastes good. That's why all of these fake meat companies try to make it taste like meat. It never actually comes to fruition because it still tastes like crap. And I would also point out,
We never went vegan because we don't like the taste of meat. Like, there's very few examples. Like my uncle, I think my uncle and my granddad, they were vegetarians because they didn't like the taste of meat. But that's like the biggest exceptions, you know. Basically, most of us vegans, we like the taste of meat, but we didn't stop because we didn't like the taste of meat all of a sudden, but because we can't support the abuse of the animals.
during COVID, when we were having shortages in the grocery store, if you looked for meat, it was sometimes hard to find, at least here in the US. But that Beyond Meat crap, that was always available because people don't want it. The consumers are deciding that they want maybe an organic option, maybe a free range option, but people still want to eat meat. And you can eat meat and respect animals at the same time. It can be done.
How can it be done? Explain it, please. Please explain your inconsistency.
It's been done since the dawn of time.
But we are beyond.
Okay, she doesn't explain. How can you respect animals and kill it? Is killing an animal respectful of the animal? Is killing a human respectful of the human? That's the simplest question. And how to debunk this fallacious claim.
Beyond meat now. We're going back to munching meat. I love meat. I won't be persuaded otherwise. And I think there are better tactics than running into restaurants and playing noises of screaming animals, personally. But thank you for coming on the programme. Tash, and thank you to Tommy.
They didn't let her talk a whole lot. It's not that we don't like meat. I did like meat when I was younger, you know, but I can't keep supporting the abuse, the torture, the rape, and so on of the animals. That's simple. You know, it's a justice movement for the animals. So that's why I'm part of it. It's not because of the taste. I don't want to impede you to have your taste. If you want to have the taste in another way or form that is vegan, then go for it. Okay, it's fine. Okay, that's it from me. Thanks for watching, and I see you in the next one.